Welcome to another video from Cardboard East. My name's Jay. I play board games from Asia and share what I find with all of you. Today we do the top 100 board games from Japan, part 4. Every video so far in the series, I've given away a game. If you want to see what game is being released this video, stick around to the end of the video where I'll showcase the game and tell you how to get it. Now, let's get to the gaming. Number 70 is Judge Domino from Itten Games. This is part of the Fun Brick series, which started a few years ago. This, I believe, is Itten's response to Oink. Oink is constantly known for making these tiny little boxes, these miniature games. Itten has their own version of this, known as a Fun Brick series, although this is a lot skinnier and taller and easier to carry around in your backpack. Now, out of all the games in the Fun Brick series, this one is the quietest, where all the players are deeply watching the game and are very, very silent. And there's a little bit of tension there that you can really cut with a knife. Essentially in this box are, well, just a whole bunch of dominoes. And on your turn, you're either going to take a domino and put it face down on the table, or you're going to yell out, Judge Domino. And then all the players are going to vote for yes, all the dominoes will fall over, or no, they won't. You're going to look on both ends of the sides, and you're going to see which is the smaller number, and then you're going to tap it, then you will get points. And whoever has the most points after 3 rounds wins the game. What I love about this game is, 1, table presence. This is absolutely beautiful. These big, bright orange pieces. 2 is that there's a little bit of bluffing involved, and that you want to kind of place it as if it looks like it's going to fall, but it's not going to. I really enjoy the quiet, pensive mode that this game brings me and all the other players. For a game that's just, well, a box of dominoes, it really gets your mind thinking and puts you into this nice, deep, quiet, pensive mode. And I really enjoy the simplicity of this design, and that's another reason why Itten is one of the best publishers from Japan, and this game is my number 70. And if you want to see a more in-depth review of this, please check out the previous video I did where I talk about Judge Domino, and I even do a playthrough. Number 69, String Railway. Train games are really popular, and they all follow the same thing, a hexagon board. Now, in this 18XX, you have to worry about the tracks and which way it's going to go on that hexagon. The cube rail games go a little bit even further abstract, and you just have one cube in the middle of the hex that can go in all directions. String Railway turns this completely on its head and says, yeah, you know what? You don't need hexagons. All you need are string. That's right, your rails are string in this game. Now, I will warn you that as you play this game, it is inevitable that string's going to move, or one station is going to be moved slightly off the string, and it's going to be a little bit of chaotic there, and you just have to deal with it, because that's what's going to happen. And if you're playing with a player who's really serious about making sure no one's moving the string or no one's breathing the wrong way, then maybe this game just isn't for them. For me, this is just a light filler game. I mean, it's only, 30 minutes long. Due to the simplistic nature of the game, like, it can get really malicious and mean. And I think you just have to take that, tongue-in-cheek, and that's how the game is and how it's designed. But as I said before, the game is only 30 minutes, and I found this game to be really fast, really fresh, and a lot of fun. But that has been my number 69, String Railway by Masasayashi and Akazu brand. Now, there are thousands of board games released every single year. Board Game Geek has well over, I believe, 300,000 games that are logged onto the website. But I think you can count on one hand how many games have the theme of jazz. Take the Acorn from Sashi Sashi is a really delightful and chaotic trick-taking game. This is the 2nd edition, and I highly recommend that if you had to choose between the two, you want to go with the 2nd edition, just because it has better quality components, better card stock, and just everything about this production is significantly better. Now, because this is a trick-taking game, I don't recommend you playing it at 2 people. 3 is okay, but if you really want to get to where this game is really designed for, you want 4 players. And that's pretty much on par with most trick-taking trick-taking games that I've played. Now, one of the things I love most about this second edition is this. And if you ever owned an LP, if you're cool enough or old enough, this should be hilarious to you, and that there's an LP wrapped in this little kind of thin paper. Brilliant. Now, why are there letters on this is because during the trick-taking game, the trump suit is going to change, and players will have to adjust to the moment. And you're going to be taking these big, bright, colorful, arrow-sized cards. You're going to be playing cards down, forming tricks. This is a very chaotic game, and it fits so well with the jazz theme. If you think you're unable to follow suit and win the trick, you could try different things. You could try doing a key change. And if you could do a key change, then maybe you could even do an improvisation. And then you could cause a delay with the trick. And therefore, you'll play another trick on top of that trick. And therefore, if you win that one, then you win 2 tricks. Or maybe you delay it again, and then the next round you'll be playing for 3 tricks. Whoever wins that hand wins 3 tricks all at once. So there's a lot of back and forth with this game. And I think that once you're able to play the game a little bit, you'll be able to ride the chaos and see the patterns and see the ways that you should go and know when to push an improvisation and know when to push a key change. Now, as kind of like that sounds, it's really, really not. And if you have an ongoing trick-taking group and you guys love trick-taking games, then this is something that I think you would want to play and want to explore because it offers something that's pretty unique in the trick-taking world. And Takako Takarai's art is absolutely gorgeous. I love big, bold, smooth, chill colors and design of each of the cards. And that has been Take the A Chord from Sashi and Sashi. Number 67 is one of the newer games to be on this entire list, and that's Retropolis. This comes from Analog Lunchbox. Now, Analog Lunchbox is known for having games that are pretty dry, but really interesting mechanics. And on top of that, they're known for some of their bigger games that are a lot more strategic and are very, very in-depth. This, I think, is something that really took me by surprise. This is one of the small box games, and sometimes for me, those are a hit or miss, but I think this is where Analog Lunchbox really hit their stride. Now, Analog Lunchbox has done something really interesting. They've made an auction game and married it with a card game. And the game consists of these 3x3 big giant squares of 9 cards, and you're building a city. Now, there's no money in this game. So what are you bidding over? Well, you're bidding over how much of the city you're going to build over. So if you build 1, then the new tile that you get is only going to cover 1 block. You build 3, then it's going to cover 3, or it can cover 6. That to me is a really, really fascinating thing. And on top of that, it's like as you're bidding for like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, you're incentivized to vote for certain specific numbers because, well, if you vote 5 then and you win on 5, then you get a free piece of coal. And you need coal to power up these trains. It's for even more points. Now, one of the more interesting things that I like about this game is that each player has their own little specific gold card. That they're trying to strive for, and that'll give them more points. But at any point in the game, if you want to up your bid, you can flip it over and it becomes a part of a city tile. So all of a sudden that you could bid even more and then you can cover this up. And now you have a river in your city. Fascinating. This is not a long game. It's only 8 rounds. Now, the game is, well, it's not that intuitive, but I think after the first game, you'll totally get it. Second game in, you'll understand it. And not only that, it's like you'll learn that all these districts on here that are different colors are not created equal. These red ones are slums, and you definitely want to cover those up. And you definitely want to have as many slums as you want to, but you definitely want more like housing areas, and you definitely want more market areas here in the purple because they're worth more points. At the end of the day, though, I was really impressed with how tight the auctioning is. I loved how you included a city builder that's a deck of cards, and it's an auction game, and it's just done in 8 rounds. You're in and out. A really good filler, does exactly what a filler should do. And that has been my number 67, Retropolis. This is another one in the Fun Brick series from Itten Games. I just really found this really fun. You can watch the playthrough video that I did, where I played this with some friends, and we talked about how we each felt about the game. What's really interesting about this game is that it takes a different twist on auctioning that I don't see that often. It's what I would call fuzziness. Now, in the game, you're trying to collect these sticks, and you want the sticks, and they're all various lengths, and you kind of want them to be in consecutive order. So like, if you imagine a ladder like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're trying to get them as big of a straight as you can. However, the problem is that, well, you put this little cylinder down at the center of the table, far away from other players, and you'll take a stick and put it here. Now, then you begin bidding. And players will look at this and they'll do a lot of leaning this way and trying to gauge if this is the right length of stick that they need. And I really like that fuzziness there because you can tell that, okay, it's short, maybe it's too short, or maybe, well, that's way too long. I don't really care about that, but I want to kind of drive up the price to make sure my opponent spends more money. And then every single auction, there's energy injected into the game because whoever wins it will take it, go into there and be like, maybe it's wrong, maybe it's the same height, maybe it's the perfect one. And there's this constant energy after every single auction where all the players are really curious, like, is that the exact stick that you needed? Is that the right one? Really interesting. And on top of this is that you begin the game with money, and then that's all the money you'll get in the game. You'll never get more. So throughout the course of the game, you can have these big bids, but then you're even more out of money, and you're slowly losing money in the game. On top of that, is that if you bid certain amounts, like on the board, there's certain things there where, like, if you guess a certain amount, then you'll get pushed back up to like 38 or whatever. So you bid 35, that's the same as 38. So you kind of want to make a bid that kind of hits those things, so that way you get more money at the end. And money is also points at the end of the game, so you definitely don't want to spend too much, but you definitely need the sticks because the sticks are worth more points at the end of the game. I love how simple this is, and I love the gimmick of leaning and speculation. Something that's really simple and really straightforward. That's why it is my number 66. Number 65 is also from Itten. I think this section has more Itten games than any other. This is called Moon Base. It is a 2-player abstract game where players are building moon bases on the moon. Now, there is a lot to think about in this game. You definitely need to play it at least once before you have a good idea of how you should be playing this game. There's a little bit of randomness there with the rings. There are different colored rings. Yours might be silver and your opponent's might be gold, or vice versa. And as you're slowly placing these rings onto the moon, you're slowly connecting them. There's a little research station here, which you place onto the larger rings, and that can be worth even more points. And it has one of my favorite things, an amazing first player token. And it's just, yeah, it's Earth. You're playing on the moon. This goes back and forth. Feels as if you're going around the Earth. I think that's really interesting and a nice little touch. They didn't have to do that. They could have come up with something else, but I like this added touch they did. Now, Moonbase is a really difficult abstract game in that most abstract games are kind of scripted. So chess would be like the best example. So I move here, then he's going to move here, then it'll be checked, then he'll move again, I'll be checked, then he moves again, then I'll be checkmate. It's pretty scripted. I can force my opponent to move certain ways, or if I do A, then my opponent can do 1, 2, or 3, and if I do B, my opponent can do 4, 5, or 6. And it is hard to see that the first time you play this game, but it is there, and almost becomes a chicken race. Well, if I build this on top, then he's going to place this and take the research station from me. Well, if I do this, and he's going to do that, and then he can connect this. If I could go here, bait him to be on top of it, then I can go here, and I can connect the bigger base, and I could probably win the big base award that's worth some points at the end of the game. It is there. You just have to train your mind in order to see those possibilities and see those paths to victory. But I really like Moonbase for how simple it is, for how gorgeous it looks on the table. It does a really good job of turning interactive art into a game. And that has been my number 65, Moonbase. Number 64 is about war. As fun and quirky as Japanese games tend to be, there are war games that come from Japan. Now, if you're a big war game fan, and you probably know who GMT Games are. GMT Games is one of the largest publishers of war games. In the last few years, they've kind of started this new trend, lunchtime games. And lunchtime games are 45 minutes to an hour, nice, quick, light war game. Now, if you think that's normal, some of these epic war games, like some of these coin games that you see here, they can take like, 3-4 hours to play. They're big, epic war games. But a little publisher known as Bonsai Games, owned and run by Yosuichi Nakaguro, he has been doing that, creating like these little hour-long war games for well over a decade now. And this one, 300 Earth and Water, got recognized by a lot of people because it got picked up by Nuts Publishing, which is a French publisher, I believe. Now, Nuts Publishing also picked up some more of his games, which should be coming out later this year. And I like those games significantly more than 300. So I'm very excited to see them and see what Nuts Publishing does to spruce it up. Now, this is the original Japanese release. This is the Nuts Publishing release. And I gotta say, like, this is absolutely gorgeous. I love the little tiny little box. I love the little magnets that come and close it. This quality of this production is far beyond anything that I was expecting. You have land battles, you have sea battles, you have bridges being blown up, you have kings dying, new kings coming into power, and all of that done in just an hour. You have the grand epic war for Greece. You have the Greeks here, and then you have the Persians over here. And you have this choice of going through a land battle and going all the way here and find the Greeks on their home turf where they're a little bit stronger, or you can even do a sea battle and just cross the ocean here and attack. In addition to that, both these factions are asymmetrical. Persians have a ton of money, so they can send out lots of troops towards the Greeks. But the Greeks don't have as much money, but the troops are significantly stronger and they're harder to kill. Battles are determined by dice. So you could fall into a randomness thing, oh, it's too random for me. But I think that there are odds that you can lean forward to. And there definitely are good decisions and there are definitely bad decisions that you can make in this game. This is what's called in the war game industry as a CDG, like a card-driven game. Each card has events for both sides of the war. So you could have a card that's really terrible for you, but really good for your opponent, and you don't want to play it just yet because then it's going to go to the discard pile, and maybe your opponent will get it on a later turn. So maybe you want to keep it as a dead card in your hand. Usually in war games, there's so many things you could do on your action. It kind of be a little bit overwhelming, but I like the CDGs because it keeps it straightforward and simple. Pick a card, play it. I think Yasushi Nakaguro is a fantastic war game designer, and I'm really curious about all his games that he comes out with every single year. This is one of his best ones, 300 Earth and Water. Maskman is definitely one of my favorite Oink games. We haven't seen many Oink games on this grand list, but they're slowly keep creeping out more and more. It is not a trick-taking game, but a hand-shedding game where you have these cards and your goal is to get rid of your cards from your hand as quickly as possible. What makes this game so fun is that, well, it's about Mexican wrestling, for one. Number two is that you have all these cards and they have suits, but you don't know how strong the suits are in relative to each other. And you slowly do that. One person's going to play like one purple, and then one person can play maybe two blue. And then now you know blue is worth more than purple. And then someone's going to play like three green, and then now you know green is better than blue and then better than purple. And they give you like these little masks that you use to kind of rank the suits in order as you play them. And so it's really interesting, some of the choices that you make there. So you can have like maybe 5 cards in your hand and maybe drop 3 really quickly. And now the other 2 cards you left in your hand are really powerful. So there's a lot of control that the players have over the power of their suits. And I find that really interesting and creates lots of opportunities for them to try fun new tricks. Maskman is definitely one of the best Oink games that are available out today, and because it's Oink, the best part is that it's widely available. It's on Switch, it's on Amazon. You can probably buy this almost anywhere on the planet that you have internet access. Number 62 is another trick-taking game, and that's Lose. I don't know. Now, the twist for Lose, you have all these different suits that you have, but everyone can see what suits you have in your hand. That's really, really interesting. And what's even more important than that is that you have to organize your hand from lowest to highest in a particular order. So therefore, not only can you tell if a player has any greens in their hand, but let's say if the last card you play is like an 8, and you know that they have cards higher than that. So not only can you tell like, oh, like maybe they have 3 green in their hand and they play a card, and oh, it's an 8. Well, then you kind of have an idea of what the other 2 cards in their hand are. And so there are times where you can really push the trick knowing that you're going to win it. Sometimes in trick-taking games, it's a little bit of a risk when you lead. Like, hey, I guess I'll go here. I think I have a good chance. But then with Lose, and you can see everyone's hand, it's pretty obvious and you can't deduce. And there's a little bit of fuzziness there because I think you take out like 10 or 20 cards as you deal each hand. This is also a bidding game. So if you bid and you get your bid, you get 40. But you're also like a little fuzz token where I bid 4 and the little fuzzy one here, so maybe 3 or 5. And if you're off by 1, well, then you get 20 points. And I definitely like that because I find that bidding games are really more rewarding because you can have a bad hand, and if you get your bid, I think that's far more impressive than if you have a good hand and get your bid. But this simple twist in the trick-taking game of being able to read your opponent's hands is really, really fun. And I definitely think if you have your trick-taking group, you have a trick-taking group, right? You have developed one by now, right? Surely you have. But if you definitely have one, I think this is one that your group will definitely enjoy. Lose is one of the best trick-taking games that Taiki Shinzawa has made, and he's made a lot. And this is my number 62. I know some people, they play this game and they think, oh, it's okay, but I just absolutely adore this game. If you don't know, Kamakura is a very touristy city that has lots of temples, big Buddha in Japan, and lots of Japanese people and people from all over the world go there for all the delicious street food and going and seeing the sights. And in Kamakura Collection, you are a family going to Kamakura. What's really cool is that you will have these goals of, I gotta go to this site, take my picture, gotta go to this site and take my picture. And you can definitely go for the big sites and make those big points. The problem with that, though, is that the other players also have to visit these sites, but they might have to visit them in a different order than you do. But inevitably, you're going to have your families meet up and get stuck at one place. And what's really cool is that, well, only one person can be in one place at a time. And I like that you can manipulate the board in that way and kind of force players to, in a way, get stuck. But your family also splits up because it's not just like one token. So one family member can go to the big sites and the other family member can go eat all the food that's all around town. And you can pick up all these little foods and they add up to all these little extra points. What's even more impressive about this is that this has one of my favorite mechanics in board gaming, and it is a rondelle, even though it feels a little bit more like action selection. But I like that there's a rondelle in the game. And you're on there and then you pick another action to take. And it's really simple for new players. I'd be like, okay, you're here, choose all the other actions and just move there. It's like, oh, okay, I can do that. And then I just have to explain what those actions are. And then Bob's your uncle, we're off to the races and we're playing a game. There are also some gold cards that you can go to. You can take a taxi to jump to other parts of the town. And you're exploring different parts of the town. You're taking the subway to go from here to here to here. And if you've been to Kamakura, I think you'll definitely enjoy it even more. I met one person online where they mentioned that they got this in Kamakura and they played this game. And even though they don't think it's as amazing as I do, they feel that it reminds them of how much fun they had on their trip. And I think that's a really good testament to this game, that it can fill you with nostalgia for something that you experienced and you can experience it again through gaming. I just want people to play more games from Japan because I think games from Japan are really interesting and have a unique voice and definitely should be talked about and played more. Wait, don't go! As promised at the beginning of this video, every video in this Top 100 series, I am giving away a game. For this video, I'm giving away Retropolis. This is my copy. I have another unopened copy. I'm gonna give it away for free. How do you get that game, you say? Check out the link below. It'll be a form for you to fill out, and then I'll randomly choose one, reach out to you, and say, hey, guess what? You're on Retropolis. Good job! Once again, gamers, my name's Jay. I play board games from Asia and share what I find with all of you. I'm gonna put some links to some videos over here that I think you'll enjoy. See you there.